speaker of the day is Mr. Balasubramaniam Vedagiri, who is a PMP and a seasoned IT professional with over 21 years of experience. Over the years, he's played various roles from a developer to a team lead to a project and a program manager, delivery manager, business manager, vertical head, sales leader, solution head, and he currently is a horizontal head at Emphasis, where he is handling a $130 million enterprise and technology portfolio. He has written many articles and contributed immensely to the project management profession. In 2005, he was invited by the PMI New Zealand to deliver a lecture, and in 2006, he has published an article in allpm.com. Balasubramaniam was invited by the PMI to take part in the standard settings session by the Program Management Multi-Rater Assessment. I welcome Mr. Balasubramaniam Vedagiri, who will be talking on the topic of Disruptive Project Management. Please. Thank you, sir.
Firstly, let me give you a disclaimer to all of you. As he said in the intro, I come from an information technology background, so my due apologies for the other industry project managers in this group. If I refer more from the IT background, it's not intentional, but it's just going to be on the free flow. Okay, so the topic today, we talk about why I chose disruptive project management, right? Conventional project management is there. All of us, including myself, a PMP. So I know that what PMI advocates, and I'm not going to disclaim any of it what it is. But if I move on, I wanted to basically cover what is it all about. What's the fundamental explanation of a disruptive or disruption all about? I have framed a technique or a few of the techniques I picked up from the industry, not just from information technology, but also from other industries which I'll cover. And before going into that, I'll also give you the background of the construct as to why it's disruptive and how it can be embedded in your day-to-day life. And finally, some of the consideration factors also will be covered. So, before I start off, the word disruption. How many of you in this crowd think disruption is bad? Okay, bad. So, a couple of gentlemen, hopefully I'll be able to turn around these two gentlemen at the end of this session. First of all, the disruptive is not bad. That's what the premise I will start off with. So you see that as I started in the beginning, right? So you have a widely believed, sorry, let me stand here. So you have a widely believed convention, right? Convention in which project management is built. And every project management as a framework is given to ensure how you are meeting the vision of your company or your client, whatever it is. So that's a path it takes you, but when we add the flavor of disruption, what it actually does is it brings in a new idea and to deliver it faster, right? So that's what we are trying to cover here as part of disruption. So some of the techniques that I'll certainly talk will help you in that regard, hopefully. And it's an emerging project management trend. So those of you who can go and Google it and see, you will find very, very, very few topics of relevance talking about disruptive project management, because it's just evolving. And one of the important basis of this is you empower your team. You bring in more autonomy in your team, right? So the people who are working with you do not think the project management takes it and I am only going to work on this project. So it shakes the fundamental thing of how a project manager can handle the team in a different way. And of course, how can you help increase your productivity levels? That's some of it with the help of technology, with the help of the methods that you adapt, all form part of disruptive because at the end of the day today, when things are evolving, business is no more the same that we used to manage a few years ago. The need of the hour today is even for the project management also to be more creative, pack in more autonomy. That's what we're trying to aim. So the first construct step is about social, bringing in more tools and technologies. Social media. So as some of the leading analysts like a Forrester or a Gartner suggest, SMAC. They use the word SMAC, right? Your social, media, analytics, and cloud. And the first speaker today spoke about the cloud and spoke about various other aspects. Here I'm advocating the concept of social media shift. When I say social media shift, how many of us use the social media, whether it's Facebook or LinkedIn or your Twitters of the world, for the purpose of project management, right? So the social media can certainly be used. We have a social media page for the organization's sake, right? Organizations today are embracing into the social media. There is hardly a handful of companies, on the top companies, who are not into social media. But what about project management professionals? Why should we be left behind when it comes to managing the project in social media? Right? Create your own social media page. And if your company, if there is an existing social media platform available in your company, go ahead and then use it, is what I'm boldly advocating. So with the help of social media, you get, it is today replacing email communication. There is no need for a communication through email to reach the project management. It is real time, on your handheld devices, it is reaching you. So make use of social media as a one of the shift and in how you view and manage your project. Talking about project management tool as service, that goes into the cloud, right? Today, every company is talking about cloud offering. Why should project management community be left behind? There are tools available. There are tools available wherein you can even use those for updating your tasks. You can have your project scheduled there. Your MPP can be in that. So when you have all this available on the cloud can be used as a project management. The tool can itself be there, wherein your team members will be able to update into the cloud. And for those of you from the PMO in your companies, the project management office, the biggest thing is how can you look at moving some of the capital expenditure lower, right? Your capex they call. How can we bring it down? And certainly cloud is an option, and especially for a project management committee, go and look at cloud. Leverage more into the cloud. Business process, talking about business process, today the days are gone where project management is simply bounded by a boundary which talks only from the way the project has to be executed. Today the project managers are expected to go and deliver the business. They are supposed to talk business. How does it impact on the business process? And the funda called business process management, BPM we call, is one of the extension getting into project management. Project management itself, the project itself is a BPM today. So it's not merely enough if project managements are today rest contented with what we learn, but it's also important how we adapt to the business. And I'll talk about the client in the last slide, but this will resonate when I go there. Internal crowdsourcing. Crowdsourcing as a fundamental is known to all of us, right? It's there on the internet. You wanted to even design a logo for your new startup. You wanted to you have a small task which you wanted to give it at a best optimal rate, the right skill to be brought out. You do it on the crowd. I'm saying this is something which we advocated within our company to say that how can we look at internal crowdsourcing to manage the bench. The bench is there, available, but how can the project manager use the bench as an internal crowdsource and use it as an extension of the project, current project team? That's on this. And mobility again. The more I talk, you all will be laughing at because I'm going to preach to a converted, right? So all of us look at mobility. Workflows can be enabled. Your CRs, change requests for your project can be enabled there, can be approved. Workflow enabled with your mobile applications developed for your project can certainly be the answer for the move. So another aspect is the autonomy aspect which I talked about. As long as the project team members think they have to just comply by the project manager's direction, the effectiveness is going to be little. The productivity is always going to be, oh, my project manager has told this, so I'm going to do this. Here I'm asking you to make the project team members realize it is their project. Let them seep into it. I'll talk about a technique in a while. But let the project managers, assimilate that this is my project, this is my, the way I am going to work for this. And once you've done that, half of the project manager's task for managing the team is taken care of. So when we talk of doing a comparative study, it's not intended for just a study of how it is done within your company or within the industry. So I am saying, why not we look at taking best practice from other industries? Why not in an aeronautical project, how can I can imbibe it? This kind of forums here where you get to hear from various industry project managers, why not we imbibe that kind of a culture, that kind of a newer ideas into your project? Some can be verbatim moved in, some may not be, right? But the construct I'm talking about is bring in that working culture where people are not bounded by what has been done before. And lastly, this is very, very important and critical. In the management lesson, we hear the X and Y graph. The X graph talks about your important tasks and the Y graph talks about your urgent tasks. And many times, the project managers gets buried into that thing of urgent, unimportant task. It's urgent, but it need not be important. So be selective, but still be effective is the message there on which the broader disruptive project management construct I'm advocating, and some of the techniques which I'm going to talk in the subsequent slides are going to address this. For the sake of consistency, what you see there, starting from the scope, how can you handle scope in a better way? How can you look at empowering your team members? As I said, that's the crux of what disruptive project management I'm talking about. How can you look at disruptive project blowback? I'll explain in a while what it means, right? That's a terminology which I picked up from the ammunition industry. Reverse brainstorm. People know about brainstorm, fishbone diagram, but what it is on the reverse brainstorm, we'll talk about that. Project analytics, as the introduction says, I'm handling the horizontals, which includes analytics as one of the practice, but I'm going to suggest how in the project management discipline, analytics can play a role. Orchestrated immersion, this is more on the education sector, and I'm trying to see how that can be brought into the project management benefit. And lastly, ambidextrous decision making, let it be there as efficiency and innovation touch point till I go there. Okay, so you see it's called, how many of you know the phrase called intelligent disobedience? Intelligent disobedience is the phrase, right? So where we are talking about the project manager on a constant basis takes the pressure from the client or takes the pressure from the project schedule and need to push it down to the team to say, hey, the schedule is crunched. But just step back and figure out that project manager's role is not just that. Project manager's function is to look at how the scope creep, which is one of the primary reasons for failure of the projects, can be better handled. And if you look at what this particular concept of intelligent disobedience states, is that you as a project manager empower yourself, feel empowered to go and talk to your client about the kind of risk that the organization or the project will face by executing that particular additional scope. Don't just blindly accept just because the client is telling you to do that. Here it is saying, go and push back, go and, but the but aspect is not blindly go and do it, it's intelligent, right? Should also be truthful to yourself. Truthful, ethical, and saying this decision will impact my project and I don't want that to happen, so come what may, I'm going to speak to the customer and do. Why will the customer listen to you? Hold on, I'll answer that in a while. So this particular simple concept of intelligent disobedience ensures it picks up from the, as the diagram says here, it's more of how the police dogs are trained, right? Or even the blind people, you know, when they are led by the dog is trained. So it alerts the master that there is a pit, there is a danger ahead. And here I'm only saying don't go blindly by that diagram or the picture. It's only indicative to say take that step, feel yourself empowered, and do the right thing. As long as the right thing, go ahead and then talk it back to the stakeholders. Empowering the project team. A phrase used here, which is actually in the negative context, is called anti-manager. The word anti-manager, those of you who are on the Google, go and check that aspect. This is what it talks about. It is not saying don't be a manager. That's not what it's telling. It's basically telling you that when you tell your members to do what they have to do, the accountability, the ownership of completing that shifts is remaining with the project manager. It's not shifted to the members. Members just execute the task that have been told to them. The continuity is not drawn. And so the concept of anti-manager is basically, instead of telling the people what to do, ask them how to do. Ask them what they will do. So once the people start feeling that, hey, this is something on me, I need to go and do this, you will see the change in the body language, the change in the way people approach the task, etc. Right? So when you look at more and more of management looks at the output and the variance of output. That's how we all have been trained. But this particular concept tells that don't look at the output, but look at the input and the process. What goes in and what goes out is the ones what needs to be looked at, and don't just look at the output, because when you look at the output, you own it. And in the current disruptive era, I am suggesting you don't own it. As a team, project team needs to own it together. Now, disruptive project blowback. As I said, the definition is there in the top, on the firearm. This is more used in the firearm industry, right? So you fire, there is a gas which comes in the opposite direction. That's the funda of the blowback. Just the phrase blowback. Harvard Business Review has picked up this and tried to figure out how that can be used in a project. And the example they have given is the nano. So next time you see nano on the road, feel proud. I'll explain why you should be feeling proud and why, as a project manager, what can be picked up from that. Nano, as you all know, is the pride of India. You talk to any foreigner, he talks about the 2 lakh car, right? But within that, what you may not know is many of the parts came from developed country like Germany. Those parts, what you see on the car of nano, is not indigenously developed in India. These are all done for Germany, customized for India. So the project manager of Tata Nano has picked up this, which is Tata as a group, as a company, and figured out how those parts can be customized for a developing country like India. Now, once success met, what is now happening is, how can I take that innovation back into developed countries? So that's the current thought process. So today the car makers are looking at Tata Nano example and trying to see what I can take it back to the developed countries. And what you see here, as I said, it's a localized modularization, and this applies to any of your projects. So we have been taught at different stages of project management, coaching and training and learning, that you should look at the best practices and lessons learned. And this particular thing is a right example of seeing how you can modularize it, have a reuse library within your whatever project you are handling. If an auto industry can reuse, if an auto industry can show the way, I'm sure the other industries can also take lessons from here. So the blowback, the project blowback that Harvard tags is actually picking up the Tata Nano example. So use that, and while that is supposed to go in that direction, how can it help benefit on the reverse direction is all the project blowback is all about. Reverse brainstorming. When you need fun and be creative, you don't need to always go to the whiteboard during your project team meeting and start talking about fishbone diagram, decision trees, all those conventional things. So here, as part of disruptive project management, one of the techniques that can be picked up is about what I call reverse brainstorming. And reverse brainstorming, take my word, it's very, very, very simple, because all you as a project manager need to do is ask only those 2 questions. Just those 2 questions. So simple. But it starts as a reverse of the problem. It doesn't start with the problem solution. It starts with the problem itself. Right? So it says, how could I possibly cause the problem? So you are making your team to think contra. You are not asking the team to give you suggestions and opinions to come out of the current problems or issues. You are basically asking how to cause the problem. And then when they state that, the next question is, how could I possibly achieve the opposite result? Not the solution, but to be in the same problem and get into more issues, what should I do? Now what happens? Why this technique is suggested here? When you advocate that, the members start thinking differently. That's a crux of it, right? You make your people think differently. You as a project manager bring in that kind of a difference into your project team meetings. Status meetings are no more the same. Just ask these 2 questions instead of going into a typical fishbone diagram. I'm not saying don't use fishbone diagram for those conventional project managers. All I'm saying is try this out. It works wonder. I tried it. So it gives you that extra ammunition, the additional flavor to go and say, you don't need to be always following the same beaten approach to get the desired outcome. Right?